Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a Boss Rush Spotlight interview here on the Boss Rush Network. I'm one of your hosts, Dirrig, and I'm joined maybe you've read some of his stories on the website. Maybe you've dabbled on Steam and come across the trailer for his game. Maybe you watched it during the Bossies last year. I'm joined by indie game developer Patrick Knisley. Patrick, welcome to the show.
Hi, Corey. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really pleased and appreciative of you having me and everything you've done to support me and this game at Boss Rush. It's much appreciated.
Yeah, it's cool. I when you first started talking about it, gosh, what was it like? You were doing your like almost like the what every other week series or like you're updating it on the Boss Rush website, and I was like, man, this game looks cool. I'm like, and then there was a point probably like what 4 or 5 of those things in, and I was like, I really hope he goes and finishes this game because it looks really cool.
Yeah, I kind of had to like be like, you know what, writing things and promoting the game, like I need to maybe just focus on making the game, especially when life gets busy and stuff, and you find yourself doing all the work
Yeah,
that isn't critical, or you know what I'm trying to say, like
yeah,
isn't pushing it forward, but yeah, so
yeah. I 100% hear you on that. Not for game development, but for the Boss Rush stuff for sure.
yeah.
Because podcasting is just as hard as game design, right?
Yeah.
Like it. So you're no stranger to the Boss Rush podcast. You were on a couple, I want to say like 2 years ago at this point, and you were creating really cool puppets, like almost Muppet style puppets, which my daughter loves the Muppets right now. She's like super into the Muppets, and so I told her I was interviewing somebody tonight that like used to make puppets. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah. She's like, and then she got like really excited. So, yeah. So why don't you? I want to hear about how that all came to be because I'm sure it's
Puppets in particular.
well, not just puppets, but like making them and designing it. Because like Jim Henson is one of my favorite creators of all time, right? Like I don't know if you, I'm sure you do, but like there's a book called No Strings Attached, right? And it's this huge book about Jim Henson and puppeteering, and the last kind of chapter of it is the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, which was the last movie he worked on before he passed away. And he passed away before it came out. So yeah, Jim Henson, iconic, and obviously I feel like every time somebody sees a puppet now, like walking around, like I think the first thing they think of are the Muppets and Jim Henson. So, I mean, was Jim Henson someone you looked up to? I mean, you like the Muppet? I mean, I
Oh
assume you
yeah,
like the Muppets. So,
yeah.
yeah,
I really loved Fraggle Rock growing up,
yeah, Fraggle
especially.
Rock is awesome. Yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. I was doing a lot of live performance stuff, a lot of comedy, and when I was a kid, I was really into puppets. Like my parents bought me a bunch of puppets, and I had like a puppet theater, little like just like one of those things you jam in a door, and do puppets. And when I was a kid, I would do that for like the adults, my aunts and uncles and stuff. And I don't know, years passed, I didn't do anything with puppets, but I was doing a bunch of live comedy, and I met a woman who incidentally teaches game development stuff at a local community college, who was also doing live comedy, and we were doing improv, and she wanted to create a puppet improv group. And I had already wanted to get back into puppets and making puppets and performing with them. And so that just kind of lined up. And so, yeah, I got, for a period of time, I was really into building for video viewers. There's a few behind me still, these puppets, and performing a lot of improvised shows with puppets, as well as some scripted stuff too. But I kind of put it down at some point. Um, I kind of put down all the performing stuff at some point, and incidentally, that is where I picked up like game development, because like I have a one of my friends always gives me a hard time because he's like, you stopped doing puppets when you had a kid. And I was like, well, yeah, you don't have a kid. You don't understand how you have to kind of maybe stop going out late at night and doing things when you have a young kid. But it is a little ironic that I stopped when I maybe had a captive audience. But that's
Yeah.
my puppetry
It's I think it's
story.
cool. I think it's really cool. I'm we're actually at the time of this recording, we're going to Disney World next week, and they took the Muppets out. They took the Muppet show out, and
Oh,
it was like my favorite thing there to go like, oh man, I'm gonna sit here for 15 minutes and watch, you know, you know, the Muppets just kind of mess up everything, and Sam Eagle say how proud he is being an American, and
oh gosh.
this maybe didn't age well right now, but yeah, it's cool. I love the look of those puppets back there. The one with like the yellow one with the green shirt and kind of the big floppy ears. It's so fun. I
Yeah.
love it. It looks like it could be walking around on Sesame Street with like, you know, teaching people about numbers and stuff.
Nice. Yeah, the orange one was actually like a stand-up puppet I made. So like I built it in a way that I could hold it a microphone and it looks like it's holding the microphone and
Oh,
I
that's
would have
cool.
it and I would do stand up as that character.
Oh, that's so fun. Like what's his name? Dunham. That's his name, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like the puppet was the stand-up rather
Yeah.
than like I mean I was there but I was like not
Yeah,
there
you're like
if
the
that makes sense.
secondary
Not like I didn't
person, yeah.
interact as me if that makes sense. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So yeah, so let's talk about games now.
Yeah.
Cuz we are a gaming related thing, but I just every time talk to you, which is rarer than I would like, I have to learn about the puppets.
Sure.
Games, you play them as we all
Yes.
do. You're let's Let me back up a little bit. Monochrome Heights is a 2D platformer. Like I'm sure that was probably inspired by games from your childhood, or obviously there's a lot of indie games out that are really great 2D platformers. So like what were some of your favorite games growing up? Like what were the games you were drawn to and why? Because there's a lot.
Yeah. So, like a lot of people, I grew up with Nintendo. I didn't actually own an NES, but a lot of my friends and family did, at least as a kid. I had one later. And then I played a lot of PC games as well. I played a lot of the Sierra games like King's
Ooh.
Quest and Police Quest and all of those games. So they were a big influence on me too, but definitely the Super Nintendo, which we had, was a big thing. So, Super Mario World, all those games were really big. And I continued playing games most of my life. I I bought a Nintendo 64 and a PlayStation with my own money, which was kind of a funny story too, because I had my first like real job when I was 16 or 17 or whenever that was for me, and I saved up a bunch of money. And I remember my older brothers coming to me and being like, because I didn't tell my mom, I was like, she knew I was saving money for something, and they're like, she thinks you're saving money to buy her a gift. You need to tell her the truth that you're saving money to buy all these video games. So
That's funny. That's
yeah,
so funny.
but yeah, those are some of the ones I grew up on playing, and I think 2D games. I love 3D games now too, but obviously when I got started making games, it felt like, well, 2D is easier, but I really love pixel art and something about the simplicity and difficulty of some older and 2D games. Not that 3D games can't be very difficult too, obviously, like Dark Souls and things, but
Mhm.
that sort of simpleness as well. But complexity comes from the constraints of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like like Super Mario World. It's so simple and pretty and everything, but like the complexity comes like getting all the collectibles or the level
Yes.
designs or you know jumping off a Yoshi at the right point so you can make the jump farther, or like there's a lot of things you can do in these games that maybe we've kind of lost the mystique in 3D games or modern games because there's just so much you can do, right? Like look at all the different types of games we have now. Like you go from something that looks like Death Stranding or Gears E Day down to like there's like the hand drawn games from Nomada Studios like Neva and Gree to Shovel Knight
Yeah.
and Hyperlight Drifter and N++, and like there's so many different types of games, and then Nintendo's still doing their 2D Mario games, and it's just games are cool, man.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, even as a kid, I remember coming up with game designs and stuff with my friends, which is one of the threads I think that has led me here. And like really enjoying the idea of like projecting like what if these little characters we drew were in a game and that sort of thing. Like probably a lot of kids
Hmm.
do.
Yeah, yeah. I used to take graph paper behind my parents' couch and draw like fake Sonic levels because like that'd be so cool to make a
Yeah.
Sonic game. And then I was like, oh well, Mario's better, so let's. I don't know. Look, side tangent here. I like Sonic enough. Sonic's fine. Sonic's cool, but
Yeah.
like I don't know, man. It's really hard to make a fast moving platformer that feels in control, right? And
Yeah.
I don't know. Sonic Mania was almost there, right? But it was very classic, and some of that I think they kind of slowed the game down a little bit, and also like the widescreen stuff helped with that instead
Yes.
of the 4:3. So yeah, but let's be honest here, guys. Mario is the king of the platformers.
Yeah. Agreed.
Although Astrobot seemed to give people or give Mario a run for his money. So
Yeah, that's true.
you think they'll make a 2D Astrobot? I wonder what that would look like. I
I
guess that
would
would just be Little
probably,
Big Planet,
yeah.
huh?
Yeah, yes, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So, yeah, I think you look at the way indie games that, especially ones that are inspired by classic games, I it's they almost make it hard to go back to those classic games, especially if you haven't really played them a whole lot. Like for me, I never had a Super Nintendo until after the Nintendo 64 came out. And so like going
Gotcha.
back to the Super Nintendo games after like I had an N64 and a Dreamcast and I was playing my friend's PS2 and then I ended up getting a Super Nintendo because I never had one, and it was for me it was like really hard to go back. And now even now like I'm like I should really go back and play some of these classic games. Like you know I've never finished A Link to the Past, and I've never finished Super Metroid, and like I love like Link's Awakening is, especially the remake, is one of my favorite games of all time. Like and Link's Awakening on Game Boy Color was the first Zelda game I ever played. But like going back, it just feels like, man. And then you go and play like Echoes of Wisdom or something. It's like, man, the quality of life changes from
Yeah.
that generation to now. But like, obviously, it was 30 years ago. They didn't, they were trying, right? But you learn.
Save states are your friend if you are going to go back to some of those old games. It's the only
Save
way.
states, rewind feature.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So yeah. So let's talk about Monochrome Heights. You're very like it's very creative. I love the way the main character looks. I love the art style. I think you did a fantastic job of making this world realized. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what it is and how you kind of came up with the idea, and let's talk about the game.
Yeah. So I think Monochrome Heights is a 2D pixel art pure platformer. There's no action element to the gameplay in terms of like no enemies that you attack. You are just platforming. And obviously, the big twist, if you will, or the unique thing that makes the game a little different than other platformers is that you are swapping between the character being black and white And when you're black, you can land on black platforms, and black hazards can kill you. But when you're white, you pass through black hazards and black hazard platforms. But conversely, you can land on white platforms and die to white hazards. And it's hard to say that out loud. That was a complicated sentence, but I think when you see it visually, it kind of clicks for you.
Hmm.
And there are other games that have done similar things, so I don't want to like say this is a novel mechanic or something. And I think the short pitch for people who, like many listeners here, know a lot about games is it's Ikaruga meets Celeste with a Mega Man aesthetic is kind of how I like to describe it to people who know what that means.
Hmm.
Um,
Edward Varnell knows what you mean. Ikaruga is one of his favorite games of all time.
Very
I feel like
nice.
he talks about it like every 3 months. He's like, I played Ikaruga again. I'm like, okay, man.
Yeah,
Uh,
and it actually came out of a game jam that I did is with a couple of folks. So I've been working on it now. I guess you have to say that it's been 3.5 years since the game jam. Though I also like to add the qualifier that I haven't been working on it full time for 3.5 years. I've had periods of intense working on it and periods where I didn't touch it for a while. Um, but yeah, I knew I wanted to make a platformer for this game jam, and the theme for that game jam was looping, I think, which one of the people I did it with my friend who goes by the name online and his music, Bent Neatly. He did the music for the game jam as well as the full game. And then for the game jam, I did it also with sort of an acquaintance whose name is Eber Alegria, and he's the one who actually pitched the color swapping mechanic, and then we kind of refined it. Um, and the game jam, I don't recommend anybody go play that version. It was first time I had made any sort of platformer. It's very floaty. It's very difficult, but I liked the idea enough to keep pursuing it, and I kind of mapped this world I had been building in my head with these characters onto it. Um, and I also want to say this, like, I have hired people to help me with the game. Like I just mentioned, Bent Neatly, who does the music. Um, when I first started, I wasn't very good at anything. So I hired people who helped with the art, though I think I've touched a lot of the art and done and gotten a lot better at pixel art myself. And I hired some folks early on to help with programming, and I hired a really wonderful writer, Andrea Blythe, to help with the narrative and the story because I liked her writing, even though I consider myself a writer. So yeah, it's not just been me, but it really is my vision and my game on a different
mhm.
level too. But I think, there's that myth of like the solo developer. I didn't do everything. I got help.
You're a regular Kojima over here. You're the only one. You're the only one.
Right, right.
Where's my blockbuster movie by A24? Monochrome
Yeah.
Heights, my Netflix series, which could work. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah. I'm accepting pitches.
So yeah, so how did you decide? How did you come up with this world? Like how did it like I mean, I know as a creative it's really fun to come up with these things, and like for me, like I'll be like, "Oh, that'd be like really cool." But then I never write it down, and then like 20 minutes later I'll forget, or like something changed, and I just kind of scrap it and move on. But you really stuck to like this world and this vision, and it is super, like from what I've seen and seen played, and I told you before the show I haven't played it yet, but I am going on a trip this weekend, and it's going to be my playing game because you so graciously provided me with a code, and dude, I'm so excited to play this game. I think it looks awesome. So how did you come up with this world? Like it's so unique.
Yeah, I think this is a fun story, especially if anybody out there is a parent, they might be able to appreciate this. I know you might, Corey.
Hmm.
So this may seem random, but bear with me for a minute. My son, when he was born, was a terrible sleeper, like a lot of people's newborns. And because my wife was staying home and she was tired and kind of just having a hard time during the day, night became kind of my time to take care. If he didn't sleep, I would try to get him back to sleep. And at a baby shower, my brother and my sister-in-law, because we're into sci-fi, me and my wife, had done a robot themed baby shower, and they had made these little paper robot cutouts, and we had hung them on the wall of my son's nursery room, and I would sit there in this rocking chair trying to rock this kid to sleep, staring at these five paper robots every night. And you know how that goes. Eventually I just started naming them, and then eventually I started coming up with backstories to them, and then eventually I was like, they're this team of robots, and like I wrote this whole thing in my head, and I originally thought I would maybe make it as like a comic book or something, but I never really did anything with it, and it never became anything, and it sort of sat there for, I guess, since he was an infant. Now he's 10, so you could say maybe about 7 years. It marinated in my head. And then when I made the game jam, he kind of looked like a robot. It was really rough pixel art we did for the game jam, and I decided to kind of turn them into a robot. And then I was like, well, this maps. I could use that idea and have those robots be part of it. And my writer friend helped me kind of shape a way for that to fit into this game. So there's a lot of lore and backstory in my head for all these characters from that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's cool. I think you should flesh that out in the comic book, or again, not to push Netflix, but come on, guys, come on. You like
Yeah,
video
so
game shows?
it's like I think the story in Monochrome Heights. I don't want to like spoil anything for anybody, but a lot of platformers don't have a very strong story. But I tried to make this game because I do consider myself a writer, and I think story in games is really cool and important. I really tried to make this game have a strong story element, and so there are choices and there are different paths. It doesn't affect the gameplay, but it affects the dialogue and the ending, because there are multiple endings.
Oh man, you
And
just made everybody like really excited. I feel like that's like a big draw for people now these days.
yeah, it is for me too, and that's what I wanted to do. And so yeah, I think there's no reason a platformer can't have a cool narrative too. Um, and I wrote a lot of barks, a lot of like just little kind of throwaway lines of these characters that are building the tower that as you climb, they're totally optional. That's not, I mean, you can skip all of the story stuff too, but I think it's a cool part of it. And yeah, I lost my thread there, but yeah.
No, that's cool. That's cool. So why did you decide to do multiple endings? Like, do you like what were the games
Oh
that
yeah.
inspired that, or did you just like, I like
I,
games with multiple endings. Let's just do that.
I think another thing that was really inspirational for me, kind of the moment right now with Hollow Knight Silksong, was the original Hollow Knight game. I had learned when my son was born, I went back to school to learn how to code, thinking I needed a better job, but I didn't really get a coding job. I just kind of stayed in the job I was in and like took all these classes and learned it. And I thought, well, maybe I could make video games. And then, I finally like got around to it later, partly because I played Hollow Knight and I was like, this game makes me want to make games, and it has this sort of lore and story to it that's not like very obvious, but is, or not very like front facing, if that makes sense. Like, and Hollow Knight has some different endings depending on what you do. And so I think that was tonally kind of what I was going for, was like depending on it's not so much gameplay based, but again, depending on what dialogue choices you pick. And I think, like I was talking about a minute ago, the whole world I created and these characters in my head, this is kind of the end. And I have a lot of ideas for prequels and for like to to see how we got here and that sort of a thing, which I think again would make sense if you play the game, you might understand that. Like not you, Corey, but I just mean anybody like
Mhm.
it's a lot of like flashbacks and stuff like that. So there's a lot of like unanswered questions kind of intentionally so that I could explore some of that stuff in other prequel games or other media or that sort of thing too.
That's so cool. Like I think like I think little things like dialogue choices and that the way that that changes endings is much. I like how much more subtle that is than actually like, oh well, you blew this door up instead of walking around it, so now the ending changes or something, right? Because it kind of feels like I think what BioShock did something like that, right? Where like there were multiple endings, but like they all kind of I don't know, it kind of all felt half baked in certain ways, but like I think dialogue is smart because you still get the exact same gameplay experience as everybody else. It's just, the story kind of goes one way or another.
Yeah.
It almost reminds me of like the way Quantic Dreams games work, obviously. But I mean, yours is a platform and theirs is just kind of like I'm gonna walk around as this robot detective. But I think that that's really I'm glad you chose that design choice and not like a gameplay changing thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It just felt like it would fit here. Yeah, I'd be curious if people, because I know anytime there's multiple endings too, people want to know what the right ending is, or they want to have some agency in choosing. I hope that this game ticks those boxes for those people and they aren't like feeling railroaded or whatever. But I don't, the story is something I have thought a lot about and spent a lot of time on, but it isn't something that I user tested a lot, to be honest with you. Partly intentionally because I was like, this is my, like how I see it. And I worked with Andrea and we talked about it a lot and we've, you know, and that sort of thing. But like, I'll be really interested to see if what people's feelings on that part is.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see people's reaction to some of this stuff. I want to see like I think one of the coolest things too is like you see gameplay comparison videos of like, well, this is how I did this and this is how I did this. I wonder if anybody will break your game in a way that you didn't think about. Like, I mean,
Oh yeah.
I'm sure you've played this game a lot, but there are games that come out that are like AAA games that are in development for 5, 6, 7 years, and they QA the crap out of it, and then the second day it comes out, they have to patch the game because somebody broke it in a way they didn't find. You know,
Yeah. Real quickly to that point, because this game is like turning on half of the colliders and turning them off all the time, I think there already are intentional skips in there. And even recently, I find an occasional like, oh, well, you can just skip that platform that I didn't even design. And yeah, I think there are a lot of ways to quote unquote break it, though it's somewhat intentional that like,
hmm
hey, if you can, I call it phasing in the game, and that was actually Andrea's coined that term, which I love. But when you're switching colors, it's
hmm
phasing.
that's so cool. It's
They're
such a cool
definite.
term.
Yeah, it makes it sound more important. But there are definitely places where occasionally you're like, oh, you could just it kind of breaks your brain. It's a very difficult game. I guess I should say that too. I should have said that sooner. Like it's
hmm
intentionally difficult in terms of how I designed it, but also just it kind of is something that takes a little bit of getting used to because you have to start to think in a different way of like you don't necessarily have to land on that platform. You can just pass right through it if you're
hmm
the other color.
Yeah,
Um,
it's almost like Ninja Gaiden or Mega Man, where like when you get hit, you can just jump through the enemies to make it through faster or something.
yes, you
Yeah,
damage boost through something. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's cool. I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna take some notes for the plane, so I'm gonna master this game on the plane. yeah, I think that's like the huge draw in this game. It's like I like 2D platformers. Like I really like, like Mario Wonder and the new Super Mario games are really good. But like it's really hard to make a mechanic in a 2D platformer that hasn't really been explored before. Not necessarily done before, because I think that there are platform shifting. I mean, there are
Yes.
whole levels in Mario based around that, but like the fact that the game revolves around this and really explores different ways to do that is, I think that's really incredible that you found a way to do that through like a whole platformer and make it interesting. It's I think that's really cool, and I think there's going to be a lot of ways people look at this game like, well, do I have, like you said, do I have to land on that platform? How do I speed run this? What's the fastest? That's going to be the cool thing with this game, you know, when it sells 6 million copies, and Summer Games Done Quick is don't forget us when you're famous, Patrick. Like watching like speedrunners break the game and beating levels in like you know mind blowing times, because I never understand how they do all that, except it's just crazy to watch.
Yeah, I'm a big speed running watch fan. I don't speed run really anything
Oh, you're
myself,
not a
but
competitive speedrunner?
I definitely thought a lot about speed running with this game because it is a risk reward game. I was talking about this with somebody today. It's a lot of fun in Monochrome Heights to go fast and nail it, like to because you can pass through things and it just kind of like. And I designed levels to be that if you go at a very fast speed, the hazards and things can line up in a certain way that you can go really fast, but it's really hard, right? Like
Hmm.
to do that. And so I definitely spent a lot of time thinking about that. And like the checkpoints are optional, and if you stop at a checkpoint, it's a second delay or whatever,
Hmm.
to hit the checkpoint. And so I am I would love for some people to get interested in speedrunning this game, but I also recognize that it's going to be a hard one
Yeah,
for people
yeah,
to speedrun. I made a demo of it, and I could speedrun the demo, but the full game is longer, and
yeah,
so I've been thinking about like, well, I'm gonna give it a shot, but I do hope somebody out there does, and I also would love to either learn how or have somebody help me make a Taz bot for it, because I think that would be really cool to see. Those tool assisted
yeah,
speedruns where like a computer does it in some
yeah.
optimal way.
Cool.
But yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be crazy to see that too. Just like, yeah. So, are there any like things about the game you think people should know, or if there's like, I don't know, are there secret passages? Are there like secret ways to get through levels? Like, is there like a
No,
secret to get to like the last level from the third level or whatever?
I definitely thought about that, and I cut that from the design. Like, unfortunately, like many, any creative project, you kind of get to a point where you're like, I got to bring this home, and
Hmm.
these ideas that haven't been implemented or getting the axe. I definitely had an idea for, like, the old Mario, like Mario 3 whistle or the warp pipes or something like that. Um, and who knows, maybe an update or something, but I don't think so. But I do think that we kind of touched on, I think, knowing that the narrative, the choices do matter. I think I want people to know that. And I also want people to know that it is a hard game. Like, I fully recognize it was a design choice for me to make this game challenging, and appeal to people who like harder games rather than a wider casual audience. So if you can't, maybe you don't need, it's more forgiving than an old platformer in some ways because there are checkpoints, right?
Yeah.
But it is pretty hard at the same time. So, like, just know that going in. There's a demo. You can try it and make sure it's for you, that sort of thing on Steam. So,
Cool. Cool. All right. So I'm gonna give you some questions because I feel like Stephanie would smack me if I didn't ask you the some of these questions. So, what's your favorite game of all time?
That's really hard. I'm never good at this kind of thing. Can I give more than one, or do I have to pick one?
No, you can answer however you want.
Okay. Well, I think
Stephanie
that
can yell at you later if you
yeah,
pick more than one.
if she needs me to pick one, I will. But I think
Uh,
it's really easy for me to kind of look at when I was a kid and the really big influential games for me. And it's really hard to not pick like Super Mario World and Link to the Past, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, because those games are so influential for me. And also Final Fantasy. It's hard for me to pick one, but maybe Final Fantasy. I guess it's is it six. They were numbered differently when I played them, and so it always throws me off to talk about what I played as two and three,
mhm.
which I guess is four and six. But those were big ones for me. And then in the modern era, some of the new stuff like Hollow Knight is incredibly, and now Silksong, which I'm playing through. Maybe
Yeah, how
that's
do you?
even better. I
Is
don't
it
know. I
okay?
don't know.
I've heard a lot of like mixed reactions to that. I was kind of surprised because usually when a game like that comes out, everybody's like praising it for I don't know years and years, and I feel like that game almost came and went with a few people like really championing it online, but like I don't know, maybe it's just because there are so many games coming out that
Yes, that is true.
it's just one
There
of
are
those.
so many games, and then also I think it was so long waiting and anticipated, and it built up this broader audience than maybe it should have, because
Hmm.
Hollow Knight and Silksong are both very difficult games that I think are kind of a niche game, but they're so beautiful and feel good to play that
Hmm.
that like everybody tried Silksong, and so some people were like, "Well, this is too hard," or "This is not for me." Maybe I think that might have kind of hurt it too, which is a weird problem to have. So it's not really
Hmm.
a problem. Oh, too many people
Yeah.
love my game.
Well, it's almost like the Elden Ring problem, right? Where like,
Yes.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people saw review scores and maybe don't know the
Yes.
culture of Souls games, right? And they're like,
Right.
"Whoa, a 10 out of 10 game," and it's, you know, springtime where games, usually not as many games are coming out. I was going to say no games, but that's impossible now. And they went out and bought it and decided it was too hard, right? Like I saw
Yeah.
something like it's crossed like the 30 million unit line at some point, probably closer to 35 now, and it's like,
Wow.
well, you look at it still has like a higher platinum trophy percentage than most games on PlayStation, but like there's a huge sector of that game that just fell off because I mean it's hard. I just think people were too eager to play a 10 out of 10 game that and I think maybe Silk Song maybe fell into that camp too, where
Yeah.
obviously it's been hyped up for what 7 years now, and the 1999 price point is very appealing, right? For
Right.
a game that is rumored to be about well at the time was rumored to be about 20 to 30 hours, which I was talking to
If you're
Pat
good.
Klein. He was like, I like it was supposed to be our one of our book club games. He's like, we're not even halfway through the game, and
Yeah,
we're like
I've got
30 or 40
20
hours.
something hours and I'm in the end of Act 1. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's like it's very much like a 60-hour game. I'm like, geez,
Yeah.
wow. Like I guess that's what 7 years gives you, huh?
Yeah.
So Monochrome Heights 70 hours long confirmed.
If you're bad, yeah, I guess like it's hard to say. One of the other things, like, and I know this is a common design problem that people have with their games, especially when you're making something that isn't casual or what have you. So I'm so good at it, and that's not like me trying to be like, oh, I'm like I've just spent so many hours playing it that
Mhm.
it's really hard for me to make the game like not too hard. I keep toning it down, and where I kind of landed was I think the main game is hard, but there are optional collectibles and optional challenge levels. And those are kind of brutally hard, because that's where I really was like, okay, well, I'm just going to let those levels be for the people who are interested. And if so, that's another thing I want people to know is like only go if you're having fun. Just play through the main game. Don't worry about the collectibles and the challenge levels because those are like a big step up.
Yeah. Well, all right. So favorite games, what's your favorite console of all time?
Oh yeah, that's hard too. But I think at this point, it might be the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Um, like it'd be easy to say something like the Super Nintendo or something or PC because there's just every game's on PC.
Oh
But
man,
like,
don't get me started on that.
but that's not my personal opinion. But like, I could see that argument.
Hmm.
But the Nintendo Switch, man, I there wasn't a period in my life where I didn't play video games, but there was definitely periods where I didn't follow video games or play new
Hmm.
games and that sort of thing. And the Switch really brought me back. The accessibility, it brought me into handheld gaming, which like again, having a young kid, I he has a loft bed and when he was like 3 or 4, I would to get him to fall asleep, I would
Hmm.
sometimes just be in there under his loft bed playing games or, like
Hmm.
on the Switch. That it's such a great console.
Yeah.
So many good
Switch.
games too.
Yeah. The Switch is really great, and like I'm so glad that the Switch 2, all it is a more powerful Switch. Like I know Nintendo likes to innovate and try new things, but and Ed and I had this conversation for like a year before the console came out. Like, what is Nintendo's next console going to be?
Yeah.
I'm like, I, honestly, I hope it's just a more powerful Nintendo Switch. I'm like, Reggie and Iwata are gone. Like,
Yeah.
as much as that's sad to think about and whatever, like they're gone. Furukawa is a penny pincher president. He's going to see what works, and they are going to replicate it with some new interesting features. And it's going to be more powerful. They're going to try to get more third party support, which I've actually been playing the third party games that come out there. I've actually been playing there. Like I've been playing
Yeah.
Star Wars Outlaws there, and it's like it's like really good. I'm shocked at how good it looks. I thought I was playing like the Xbox version. Seriously, it looks so good.
And if they really want to innovate, they could still make peripherals or things that are
Yeah, like
optional
that second
and that
screen they
sort of thing.
patented for DS games maybe later. Dude, they're building a Virtual Boy box for it. They're
Yeah, exactly.
come
Like
on.
that proves they could make something that plugs into it or what have you if they really wanted to do something wacky. And
Yeah.
I would be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't do
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm reading off of her last thing here. Okay, so what what two franchises do you think would merge together to make the perfect game?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I, I got a weird one maybe. I don't know if this would be the perfect game for anybody else, but I've always wanted there to be like a fighting game, like a 2D or I mean like a Street Fighter. Basically I want to merge like Street Fighter and Final Fantasy or something. And I know the most recent Street Fighter 6 had a sort of a story mode that kind of does this, but it didn't do it in the way I wanted. I
Hmm.
want to like where the battles are 2D fights, like a 2D fighting game.
Oh man,
But
you're
then it's
you're
like,
basically just talking about God Hand for PS2 now.
oh, is that really? I've never
Yeah, that
played.
it's like a part action RPG, but like the battles are 2D fighting game mechanics, and
Okay, there
it's
you go.
kind
It
of
already exists.
yeah. It was IGN gave it like a 3 out of 10 or something, but like it's one of those games that everybody loves, but for some reason that reviewer did not, and it's just one of those infamously reviewed games. It's never come back out though, so it
Yeah,
might
I
be on
don't.
PS2 for or like PS2 on PS4, PS5 or something. I don't know.
Again, maybe this isn't the best game for everybody. That
No,
is
it's fine.
evidenced by that review.
No, it's fine. It'll be great. Did you ever play the Dissidia Final Fantasy games? Not really a 2D fighter, but
No, I didn't.
yeah, they're like the Final Fantasy multiverse kind of
Uh-huh.
almost arena fighter. It's like
Okay.
this like the camera pulls out like kind of like Power Stone almost, where like it's kind of camera kind of hovers over the arena, but as the characters get closer, it kind of pans in, and then
Right.
you get the cool like Advent Children style battle cutscenes, like flying up in the air and zipping around. Not really a 2D fighter though. It's just
Yeah.
kind of this weird action fighter. Actually, like if you put Bushido Blade on like
Yes.
25 times speed, essentially.
Yeah, I really love fighting games, and that's kind of not everybody does. So I, you know,
Yeah, I mean, I think fighting games have their audience, and it's very clear. Like
right.
the FGC is very passionate about these things. I think it's really hard to get casual people into fighting games these
Yes.
days, unless you're Mortal Kombat. But I bought
Yeah.
Street Fighter 6 on the Switch too, actually, and
Yeah.
it's a really fun game. Like I hadn't played Street Fighter
It's
probably since Street Fighter 4 came out originally on the Xbox 360. Just because I'm not like a huge fighting game person. And then I bought Injustice 2 when the Ninja Turtles came to it because
oh
it,
yeah,
ev-
love the Ninja Turtles. Yeah.
yeah, every time the Ninja Turtles are in a game, I have to buy them or it. Like Fortnite, like I didn't really play a lot of Fortnite, but when the Ninja Turtles were available to buy, guess who bought them? And then
Yep.
I've been actually playing a lot of Fortnite this month because the Power Rangers are in it. And I'm like, I don't care about this game, but I need to, I need to be able to like,
Skins, yeah.
yeah. And then like the next battle pass is K-pop Demon Hunters, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm playing Fortnite for another 3 months or so. But all right, so last question here:
Yeah.
the superior Mario brother, Mario or Luigi?
I'm gonna go with Mario.
Oh
I
man,
know that's not a fan favorite, but he's a classic. I like to play as Mario in games where like you have an option. I like to
Mhm.
play as the princesses actually, but like if you said I had to be Mario or Luigi, I think I'd pick Mario.
Yeah,
Um,
I think the Luigi flutter jump really bothers me when I'm
mm,
playing as Luigi. You know, like I'll go hunt ghosts in a mansion, but
agreed.
I won't be
Yeah,
flutter jumping all over the levels.
yeah. If anything, I'll take the Princess Peach float. That's the superior.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, Patrick, thanks for hanging
Yes.
out with me for 40 or so minutes on the spotlight interview. Monochrome Heights available on Steam.
Yes.
You should go wishlist it, go buy it. It'll be out this will be out Thursday the 2nd, so it'll be out the 7th,
That's right,
right?
October 7th. Yeah.
Yeah. So go buy it. We're gonna be helping you push it, Patrick. I know this is a passion that you've been working on for a long time, and anything obviously we can do to help, we're gonna we're gonna do it for you. So Steam, any console release plans?
No, I mean maybe someday, but I think I've learned like one of the things too is like I've learned so much. I'm really excited to take all the knowledge and make another game,
Hmm.
and I
Yeah,
think I don't plan on stopping. So
that's cool. Yeah, Monochrome Heights coming to Steam. Go buy it. Go play it. I hear it's a great Steam Deck game.
yeah, it does
So
work well on the deck.
yeah, I'll talk to you off air. I'm gonna reach out. I'm gonna connect you with somebody after this. So,
Okay.
anyways, go check it out. Monochrome Heights available October 7th on Steam. Go check it out. Patrick, if people want to follow you, where can they find you? Where can they follow you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am on most platforms. Personally, I am PDYX. Some places I am PDYX123 that have character requirements. And then also my game studio is called One Frog Games, and I've got, accounts for that as well on most of the major platforms. So yeah.
Cool, nice. Everybody out there, thanks for watching and or listening to this episode. Remember, you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Boss Rush Network. You can head over to our website, bossrush.net. You can actually learn about some of the development process of Monochrome Heights over there. So check that out. And check out the Boss Rush podcast every Wednesday on your podcast service of choice, and Nintendo Pavlok on Mondays. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and until next time. If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Sana Dirrig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Christian S. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.